Hi everyone, Chris from Stone Age Gamer here, and welcome back to Stone Age Gaming, a show where I talk about, well, weird stuff that I have. So, I know this might sound a little nerdy, even by the standards of somebody standing in front of a giant wall of video games, but I love old video game advertisements. Now, the old 16-bit wars between Nintendo and Sega were legendary. I loved being alive during that time, and Nintendo had this specific set of advertisements during that era that always fascinated me to no end, and it was pamphlets. These people made a whole bunch of pamphlets, and you'd find them at Toys R Us stores and stuff, and they are just the coolest darn things. It actually went a little bit further than the Genesis stuff. There's even N64 and Virtual Boy stuff in here, but I love these pamphlets. I think they show a bunch of really fascinating stuff, and well, let's take a look at them. Alright, pamphlets. Now, I know what you're thinking. This isn't the most exciting thing in the world to make a video on, but trust me, these things are way cooler than they look. So, let's get started with this guy right here. Now, these two are almost identical. I kind of tried to put these in what I think is chronological order. So, let's see what we got here. These two, I love this bit. These were done when they were trying to push the top-loader NES and the Game Boy and the Super Nintendo wall at the same time. So this has just this wonderful, these really great pictures in it. So this is the earlier one, and you see you've got this really great glamour shot of the Super Nintendo, the Game Boy, and the top-loader NES, explaining what the advantages are of each one of them. So like the Super Nintendo is the new hotness, and then you've got the Game Boy, which is great for portables, and then if you want the classic with the giant library, you've got the $50 top-loader NES, which... Man, I love this picture. I'm such a sucker for old hardware, and this picture is great. But then you crack it open, and oh my goodness, look at all these characters together in the same place. I love it because, again, this is pre-Smash Brothers, so like I always loved seeing all the different Nintendo things together. But you gotta wonder who put this together, because you've got Football Dude, you've got like 3 characters from Battle Clash. Now, I love Battle Clash. That's that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody who's been around this channel for a while, but holy cow, 3 Battle Clash characters sitting there right behind Link and Wario, and I think this is just the shopkeeper from the Link to the Past instruction manual. Like, okay, sure, why not? Let's do that. And again, breaking down what these things can do. I think so. This is play Super FX right at the top, so this must have been right around when Star Fox came out. So you got this coolness. And then you crack it open. Actually, you know what? This is where you'll see the differences. So this is pretty much the same, but then you crack open this one, and it just adds the Super Game Boy up there. So that's kind of the... and Kirby's smaller, and you've got this little doodad here, and looks... Oh, no Wiggler. Wiggler got moved. Look at that. Wiggler's over there now. Isn't that fun? Alright, so after this, then you open it up, and you get... this, which is so cool. So you've got this giant selection of screenshots, starting with a Super Nintendo up top. You got Star Fox, Stanley Cup, and it's so cool looking at what they were focusing on. Like, these were the games that Nintendo wanted to push at this time. So you got your top 2 are Star Fox and NHL Stanley Cup, because I imagine at this point they're noticing how much Sega is kind of kicking their butt in the sports game department, and so they've got this really unique hockey game that uses all the Mode 7 to make it like a 3D hockey game, and it sure looks great in pictures, but this was before their whole Play It Loud campaign, where they started really taking Sega head-to-head. So, you know, still pushing Link to the Past. You got Metal Combat, Falcon's Revenge over here, so they're still pushing the Super Scope. This I find interesting because I don't think that's a screenshot from Falcon's Revenge. I'm pretty sure that's a screenshot from just Battle Clash. But that's very interesting to me. I'd love to know exactly when this thing dropped. But then you got your Game Boy stuff, you got Mario Land 2, some Metroid 2, and Mario Land 1, and Link's Awakening. And the NES stuff takes, you know, the big spot on the bottom with original Legend of Zelda labeled as Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. That's pretty funny. Dr. Mario, Kirby's Adventure, NES Open, Mario 3, Mario 2, Punch-Out, and Tetris 2. So that's pretty cool. Let's see what's in the other one. The slightly refreshed version is And boom, look at this, Super Metroid right up there. Super Metroid was such an amazing game. Still pushing Stanley Cup and the base. Look at this, the next three are sports. Griffey, Stanley Cup, and NCAA. Stun Race FX, Yoshi Safari, and Mario. It's not exactly an attractive picture for Mario All-Stars. I find it so weird they picked that one. The Game Boy selection, it looks a little bit smaller, and then you got your Star Tropics 2, Mega Man 6, Metroid. They got all three the classic Metroid games on here. How fun is that? Yeah, love it. I love the way this looks. Breaking down like how many games were available. There's over 330 Super Nintendo games, over 330 Game Boy games, and over 630 NES games. Just love that. So there you go. That's this one. All right, next let's look at this guy here. This is when they had moved on to the Best Play Here ad campaign. And I remember the Super Scope commercial with the Best Play Here. This is issue number 1. Which continues onto this one, issue number 2. We'll get to that in a minute. So this one wasn't really super eye-catching to me. In fact, every time I look at it, I think it's folded wrong because it's just this wall of smallish text and some dude with a Super Nintendo controller over his eyes for some reason. I crack it open, and it's just talking about thumbs and another dude holding a giant Super Nintendo controller. Okay. You get in here. So far, this one is, at least to my eyes, so much less interesting than these ones over here. But it's still got some cool stuff going on. Different versions of the system, the Super Scope. I've never seen this box before. I don't know what that's. I think this was supposed to be the box if you bought it without the Super Scope 6 game, but I don't think I've ever actually seen that. I don't even know if they released that. And then Mario Paint looks a little weird. If you look at this art nice and close, it almost looks like not final art. I don't know, something striking me as odd about this picture of Mario here. But anyway, let's see what's all the way on the inside. And we've got, it's also still kind of ugly. Not the most attractive one. I guess not bad. It's bright orange. Stanley Cup, NCAA, play action football. So you got the sports kind of conglomerated there. Lost Vikings, that's a weird one to point out. Star Fox obviously is a big deal. Alien 3. This is such a strange, eclectic group of games here. Pretty nice though. So yeah, there you go. Not my favorite, but it's gonna get better from here because I love this one. Nintendo's Play It Loud campaign was flippin' bizarre. This is when they really tried to take on the whole extreme thing that Sega was doing, and I don't really know that they pulled it off that well. What is this ground meat doing here? Whatever. So here's Super Nintendo issue number 2. I still love this pamphlet. I love this one, and you'll see why in a bit. The insides are great. So you go here, and it's just like a bunch of like, hey man, we're super cool and young and hip, and we do cool things. Never hit the pause button and play it loud. Okay. And then you open it up, and you get your Kirby with a gold chain from their Play It Loud commercials where they're trying to be all like super cool and loud and extreme and whatever, man. When I was a kid, it was the coolest thing in the world, obviously, but looking back on it now, it's borderline embarrassing. So you got your Super Game Boy front and center. I loved this. Love the Super Game Boy. I had so much fun with this thing. This Donkey Kong game was amazing. And of course, you get Mario Paint with the mouse, Super Scope, Super Power Club. But this one I love. It's got this breakdown chart here of why the Super Nintendo is better than the Sega Genesis. And like, wow. Neither has root beers. Way to go, guys. Memory, lots or half as much. Oh my goodness, this is such delightful propaganda right here. It's fascinating. But on the inside of this one has the coolest, I think. This is so awesome. Look at this. This is such an attractive layout. It's got everything sectioned off by like sports, adventure, puzzle, fighting, racing, action. I love the way that like the colors have it all together. It's got that kind of 90s extreme ridiculousness to it, but it's also so well organized that I can't help but be excited by it. You know, you got Illusion of Gaia, and every single one of these things, I mean, these are completely ridiculous, obviously, because it's all, again, this extremist propaganda stuff. But, like, look at this Super Punch-Out one here. You've got each fighter has his own style, huge opponents, and ugly. ding, ding. Like, it's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous, but it's so cool, and unfortunately mine's all ripped here. I have a couple of this one, but they're all in various pieces. This is the only one I have that's like complete. Oh, Uniracers was such a good game. Then you're hitting like Lion King and Power Rangers and Batman, Earth, and Tin Star. This is how I learned about the game Tin Star. If you've ever played Tin Star's a great game, especially if you use the Super NES mouse. It's totally awesome. So this is one of my favorites. I don't like it quite as much as this one, but I do think this one is super awesome looking. And Bear Hugger, come on. It's like one of the best sprites I've ever seen in a video game. It's absolutely amazing. All right, let's see where they went from here is more of the Play It Loud type stuff, except this one also incorporates Game Boy stuff. So this was Killer Instinct era right here. So this is after Donkey Kong Country exploded and basically took over the world, and they had Donkey Kong Country 2 and Killer Instinct and Yoshi's Island taking center stage on this one. So this is when other systems were trying to come out. This is PlayStation's around the corner, Saturn and 32X and all that stuff, and Nintendo's like, nah, you don't need a new system. You can do all the coolest, newest games on the Super Nintendo. And, you know, they weren't completely wrong. God, the Play It Loud Game Boys, right? We're not going to make the Game Boys in color. We're just going to make the Game Boys colored. What a ridiculous idea. And they're so cool looking. It's like they're selling this ancient technology and they just wrap it up in a new shell, and you better believe I bought one. I have this red one here. I bought that one brand new. Love that one. This is a really cool setup here because, like, look at all these great games showing off in the background. And again, this is another really nice looking one. Try and beat this, which, you know, looking back on it, this is a really great setup of games. You know, Illusion of Gaia, Earthbound, Donkey Kong Country. This is really playing to late Super NES strengths right here. And then just showing off all this Game Boy stuff. What a bold move. Like, considering how ancient this technology was, you know, showing off stuff like, yeah, we got Killer Instinct and Street Fighter on Game Boy, and they technically function. Kirby's Dream Land 2, and then all these arcade classics ones that did look pretty, they looked pretty good when you played them in the Super Game Boy. So it's an interesting collection of things to show off how your Nintendo stuff is cooler than all the greatest, newest technology on the market. But I bought into it hook, line, and sinker. This is one of the reasons I played Earthbound was these pamphlets, and Donkey Kong Country 2 was so good. Yoshi's Island was the one that really blew me away on so many different levels. But yeah, man, good stuff. All right, what was next? This one is for the Game Boy Pocket. So after the Play It Loud Game Boys, they actually gave us a new Game Boy, but it still wasn't in color. It was just in various colors. I don't remember this purplish Game Boy Pocket, though. That's interesting. Or maybe that's just supposed to be the clear one. It just looks kind of purple here, but whatever. So this is only a 3-tiered one instead of 4. You know, pick a color, any color, and then you crack this open, and you got all these, you know, classic pictures of people with their respective colored Game Boys. And then you got this nice little foldy setup here. I like this one a lot too. It's pretty straightforward. And a lot of great games. Anytime you're showing off King of Fighters 95 for Game Boy, come on, that's great. It's Star Wars and Super Mario Land, and these are mostly Game Boy, Super Game Boy images, which I think is hilarious. Like, you've got the borders on these things. This is not what these games look like on a Game Boy Pocket. This is so specifically not a black and white Game Boy, and they're like, oh, yeah, see, Super Game Boy screenshots shown. Although we're actually advertising these, it's somewhat misleading. Like, it's not because they're saying it down there on the bottom, but this whole thing is about the Game Boy Pocket, and they're showing off colored screenshots and borders on things that just don't. Good times. Still, great selection of games. Mole Mania, that's a really cool game. And this Space Invaders, the Game Boy Space Invaders that was a Super Game Boy Enhanced, is completely insane. It's got a full Super Nintendo game built right into it. And I love the first Donkey Kong Land. I didn't like the other ones as much, but the first Donkey Kong Land I was fascinated by, and of course the original Donkey Kong Game Boy. One of the best games I've ever played. Donkey Kong for Game Boy is amazing. So that's Game Boy Pocket. Now we're moving on to Nintendo's tumultuous times. So, you know, if you're up on your history, then Nintendo kind of, I mean, they fought valiantly against Sega, but they kind of eventually ruled the roost in the Super Nintendo era, and they always owned the Game Boy market. Nobody was able to tackle them in handhelds, but after the Super Nintendo, their home consoles took some beatings, and this is where Nintendo really lost a lot of market share. Was once PlayStation got involved. So their 32-bit system was the Virtual Boy, and this pamphlet, I mean, obviously the Virtual Boy did not succeed. It was a crazy idea to begin with. I have it, I love it, and I loved it at the time. I thought it was amazing, but not long term. Playing games in red and black. But so this is like a whole poem here. It came from a new dimension, a third dimension, a good dimension. For a moment, I became distracted, as though magnetically attracted. The invention reacted, pulling me into the third dimension. And then you get all the breakdown of the hardware, the AC adapter sold separately. Yep. This thing's so weird. If you've never used the Virtual Boy AC adapter, it plugs into the controller. Like, this is where the batteries go. So you swap that out and you plug this thing into it. But this actually opens. It's like a latch, and this is just a Super Nintendo AC adapter. It's the same thing as Super Nintendo one, just plugs right in there. And then that snaps shut, and then that plugs into the controller where the power button is. Virtual Boy's such a weird system. But this is really interesting stuff. When I open this one up, we're going to see some cool stuff. Check this business out. So, this is not exactly eye-catching because everything is in red and black, right? So, what's interesting about this? Well, Mario Clash is Mario Clash. Wario Cruise instead of Wario Land Virtual Boy. This was actually had its own logo and everything on the back of the original Virtual Boy box. It was also called Wario Cruise. And I kind of wish they would have stuck with that name. Kind of makes it stick out a little bit more. But those are real screenshots. This, on the other hand, is absolutely not what Waterworld looks like. If it did, this would have been awesome. I'm pretty sure this is a screenshot from the Super Nintendo game that never came out, that was just red scaled and plopped on this poster. I thought this game was going to look so cool. Looking at this screenshot and then imagining what this whole thing would have looked like in Virtual Boy, I was actually really excited for this game. And I've never seen the movie, but I was excited for the game because it looked super cool. And then I got, based on this screenshot, I got the game, and it was not this. Then you got Red Alarm over here. That looks like what it looks like, because it just looks like a mess of lines. Red Alarm does not translate to 2D imagery at all. This is another fascinating one. Look, it's GoldenEye for Virtual Boy, and it's a car. So if you thought rush hour traffic was a nightmare, wait till you get behind the wheel of 007's car. Avoid obstacles and blow the other cars away. Buckle up for safety, because in this game, you never know what's going to happen. This game doesn't exist, and if it does, it never released. I don't know if there's actually a prototype out there for this one. That'd be really cool to see what this game was really supposed to be. But there's a whole GoldenEye game. This, unlike Waterworld, this looks like it's an actual screenshot from something that was functioning, and that's really cool. Jack Brothers, Virtual League Baseball, Mario's Tennis. The rest of this stuff is all things that actually exist. Tellero Boxer, what an awesome game Tellero Boxer is. But yeah, I love this one because I love the Virtual Boy so much. I peered into the invention and heard a voice say, "Turn it on, Virtual Boy, a 3D game for a 3D world." I mean, now look, the Virtual Boy did just about everything wrong, but a 3D game for a 3D world, that's a pretty good tagline. Way to go, Nintendo. So there's your Virtual Boy one. All right, now I only got 2 left. I only ever saw the 2 for the N64, and this is the first one, and it's way more interesting. So we're gonna finish on that because this is the last pamphlet I ever got from a Toys R Us for Nintendo stuff, and this one's kind of bland. So it's only 3-tiered. It's more extreme 90s looking stuff, showing various ways to hold the controller. Okay, Ocarina of Time, Turok 2, NFL Blitz. Colored controllers, and like, if this doesn't sum up how dire the Nintendo 64 was, I don't know what does. This was what they're promoting at the time, and it's a handful of multi-platform stuff and a couple of exclusive, but this is so sparse. Look at how much negative space is on here. This is all they had to show at this point. You got Duke Nukem 0 Hour, Fox Sports College Hoops, NASCAR 99. Like, I don't know what the aim for this one was, but boy, thinking back to the N64 days after it was out for a good long while, around when Banjo-Kazooie's coming out, it was so dire compared to what was happening on PlayStation. And I loved my N64 at the time to a degree, but this was the generation where I was convinced to go out and buy another system, and I got myself a PlayStation. I'm so glad I did, because like, wow, the N64's release schedule was so paltry compared to the PlayStation. It's ridiculous. But here's where we get some really fun stuff. This one came before it. This was the pre-N64 release thing. So this was before the system had come out, I'm pretty sure. And I love all the artwork inside of this. This is, as much as I dislike the N64 now, the hype for this machine before it came out was unbelievable. It changed the system. It was this whole new crazy thing. Like, the PlayStation and the Saturn had been out there, like, okay, well, what's Nintendo gonna do? Why are they going with cartridges? The system itself used to be the Ultra 64. There was so much mystique around it, and the idea of a Zelda 64, Mario 64 was all so very exciting. So while it ultimately didn't live up to it in my world, especially in retrospect, at the time, this hype was unbelievable. So crack this thing open, you get a nice close look at the analog stick. Remember, analog sticks were like a new thing back then. This was a big deal. It had an analog stick, it had a trigger on the back, 4 controller ports built right in. And they're just talking about its, the power of this system. But then you get this right here. Awesome! 3 dimensions are better than 2. You got your Mario Kart back there. This was Gretzky's 3D Hockey, Pilot Wing 64, but this, Tusk from Killer Instinct 2, or Killer Instinct Gold on N64. N64 videotape offer. I love this videotape. If you haven't seen it, there's videos on YouTube where you can see this whole video. It is ridiculous. This whole video is so crazy. But this artwork, the Mario 64 artwork of him swinging Bowser by the tail, how awesome is that? All right, now here's some really cool, interesting stuff. Check this business out. So this is kind of hard to read because it goes around in all these different circles, but some of this stuff is really weird. So Mario 64, Pilot Wing 64, Cruising USA, Super Mario Kart R. So not Mario Kart 64. It still has the Super moniker from like the Super Nintendo game, and it's Super Mario Kart R, and it's just showing off 4-player in this screenshot. One of the best racing games ever, just got better, revolutionary 4-player fun, and multiple game modes create huge challenges and variety, while the 3-dimensional terrain will leave you dizzy, right? Because the original Super Mario Kart was not 3D. It was Anyway, Wave Race 64, Kirby's Air Ride, which eventually got repurposed to Kirby Air Ride for GameCube, but every time I've seen footage of this, on that VHS tape that they talked about on the other side of this, there's footage of Kirby's Air Ride running, and it looks like a completely different kind of game than what Kirby Air Ride wound up being. I'm so curious about this one. I was always so excited about it, too. It looked really cool, and then, it never materialized. When the GameCube one came out, I was like, this is also cool, but this looks nothing like the old stuff I used to see in the videos. But Tetrasphere, Shadows of the Empire, I love this Star Fox 64 logo, was just the Super Nintendo one with 64 slapped on the side. And it's really cool seeing how early on Star Fox 64 was like a part of the N64's identity. GoldenEye, Turok, Blast Corps, KI Gold, Mortal Kombat Trilogy, Ken Griffey's Baseball. I feel like that got a different name too, but or at least a different logo. Because this isn't even a screenshot, it's just a picture of Ken Griffey. We don't have anything to show, but I promise you we have a baseball game and it's got Griffey in it. FIFA 64. This one, I don't think that wound up being the actual logo on the game. It's a pretty cool looking logo. NBA Hang Time, Gretzky 3D Hockey, and we're back around. But yeah, Mario Kart R, Kirby's Air Ride, old logo for Star Fox 64. Like, I love this kind of pre-release stuff, and when they show off things that never actually wind up existing, like Kirby's Air Ride, is relentlessly fascinating to me. So there you have it. Those are all the Nintendo pamphlets I have from back when I used to go to Toys R Us and, well, I collect these things. I adore looking at all these pamphlets. The old posters are great too, and they eventually transitioned into those little booklets, more than fold-up pamphlets. They had these like little mini catalogs and stuff. Some of them were even like had thick binding on the side. Maybe I'll do a video on those in the future. But there you go. Those are my Nintendo pamphlets. Huzzah. It's especially wild to me in the later ones where you'd see those games that weren't quite there yet. You know, you've got that N64 one that shows Kirby's Air Ride, or the GoldenEye screenshots on the Virtual Boy one. I love that kind of weird stuff, but I also really love the older ones where they're showing all their different brands coexisting together in an era way before Smash Brothers was a thing. I just love all of this stuff so very much, and as a Nintendo nutcase, they were the coolest things to just go to Toys R Us regularly, and then every couple of months or so you'd go in there and be like, oh, there's a new pamphlet arrived, and I'd open it up and look at all the games inside. It was just fun. It was such a fun time to be a gamer, and I'm very thankful that I got to live through that entire experience. Not that gaming now doesn't have its advantages. I mean, the day I'm recording this exact thing, there's a Nintendo Direct happening in like an hour, and seriously, I couldn't even imagine what that would have been like as a kid, as a Nintendo nut kid, having stuff like Nintendo Direct, or even like later with PlayStation. There's a PlayStation State of Play later today. How crazy is that we have these presentations that happen all throughout the year of just info dumps on new games coming out? But you can't hang a Nintendo Direct on your wall like you could with these posters, and I definitely did that when I was a kid. I hung all this stuff up in my room because, well, I mean, look at me. This is this is in my house. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. If you liked what you saw here today, please follow, comment, like, and subscribe, and let me know if there are any cool pamphlets that I missed, because I'm sure I didn't get all of them. I mean, there must be more out there, and I would love to know if there are some other really cool pamphlets, or where did you get them, or are you watching this in another territory? Did they have different kind of pamphlets out in the UK or whatever? This kind of stuff fascinates me. Old video game advertisements, especially Nintendo stuff, is fascinating to me. So thanks again for watching, everybody. On behalf of all of us here at Stone Age Gamer, keep playing games.
Yeah, let's see how the other half lived. Oh my goodness. Let's see any pamphlets about this game.